Netflix built an entire ads event processing pipeline from scratch, and the engineering story behind it is way more intricate than I expected.
Yeah, it really is. And I think what makes it interesting is that they didn't just build a thing, they built it 3 times, each time learning from the last version.
Right, so let's start at the beginning. November 2022, Netflix launches its ad-supported tier. What did the first version of this pipeline actually look like?
So the first version was pretty lean. You had 3 main pieces: the Microsoft Ad Server, a Netflix-built ads manager, and something called the Ad Event Handler. Microsoft was the ad server partner at launch, and the whole system was built around what the article calls a device-originated, server-proxied model.
What does that mean in plain terms?
It means the client device, your TV, your phone, is the one triggering the events. When you watch an ad, your device sends a signal back, but it doesn't send it directly to Microsoft servers. It goes through Netflix first, which acts as a proxy.
And there's this opaque token thing involved. That kept coming up in the article.
Yeah, the token is clever. When Netflix's ads manager parses the ad response, which comes in this format called VAST, it extracts all the tracking information and packs it into a structured data model. That gets encrypted into a token, so the device just holds this blob it can't read.
It's like a sealed envelope.
Exactly. The device knows when to send it and which token to send, but it doesn't know what's inside. When the event fires, Netflix decrypts it and forwards the tracking information onto the ad server and measurement vendors.
That's actually a nice privacy design. Okay, so that worked for a while. What broke it?
Nothing broke exactly, but they started adding more third-party measurement vendors, companies like DoubleVerify, IAS, Nielsen, and every new vendor meant more tracking URLs, more metadata, more data stuffed into that token.
And the token is sitting on the device.
Right, it's cached on the device. So you've got a growing blob of data living on your TV, and that starts to become a real memory concern. The article flags this as a critical trend they identified.
So what's the fix?
They introduced a layer they call the ads metadata registry. Instead of packing all the tracking information into the token, they store it server-side. The token now just contains reference IDs, the ad ID, a record ID pointing to the metadata, and the event name.
So the envelope is now just an address, not the full letter.
That's a good way to put it. And it future-proofs the system because you can grow the server-side data as much as you want without touching the device.
Smart. Now there's a third phase, which is the big one. January 2024, Netflix decides to go in-house with its ad server. Why does that change everything for the event pipeline?
Because suddenly you're not just a passenger in someone else's system. When Microsoft was the ad server, you could rely on their infrastructure for certain things. Going in-house means you now own frequency capping, billing, reporting, all of it. The event pipeline has to support all those use cases natively.
And frequency capping is something they mention a lot. Can you explain what that actually is?
It's basically the rule that says you shouldn't see the same ad 50 times in one day. Advertisers set limits. Show this ad no more than 3 times to a given user in a week, for example. The system has to track impressions in real time to enforce that.
And if your event pipeline is slow or lossy, you blow past those limits.
Exactly, which is bad for the viewer experience and potentially a contractual problem with the advertiser.
Okay, so talk me through what they actually built in this third phase. There's a lot of components.
The centerpiece is what they call the ads event publisher. Think of it as a central clearinghouse. Instead of each downstream consumer having to deal with decrypting tokens, enriching data, hashing identifiers, all that messy upstream stuff, the publisher handles it once and hands everyone a clean, unified event.
One place to clean the data, many places to use it.
And the article makes a point that this unified contract is agnostic to the ad server and the ad media type. So whether the event comes from a video ad or a display ad or eventually a live stream ad, the downstream consumers don't care.
What are the real-time consumers downstream of this publisher?
A few key ones. Frequency capping is one. It's reading events in real time to track impression counts per campaign and per user profile. Then there's an ads metrics component, which is a Flink job transforming raw events into dimensions and metrics and writing them to Apache Druid.
Flink, Druid, these are big data processing tools.
Right. Flink is a stream processing framework, good for doing computations on data as it flows through. Druid is an OLAP database optimized for fast analytical queries. The combo lets them get real-time campaign health metrics.
And there's also something called the Ads Sessionizer.
Yeah, this one's interesting. Another Flink job. It takes all the individual events tied to a single ad play, start, quartile, completions, finish, whatever, and stitches them into a single session object. That session becomes the basis for a lot of the reporting downstream.
So instead of analysts having to reconstruct what happened during an ad play from scattered events, they just get a tidy session.
Exactly. And the article notes this is positioned downstream of the raw events, which is a deliberate architectural choice, keeps the sessionization logic separate from event collection.
There's also still an event handler for sending data to external vendors?
Yes, that role persists. The ads event handler still reads tracking info and fires it off to third-party vendors for measurement and verification. That loop didn't go away, it just plugs into the centralized publisher now.
I want to zoom out a bit. The article uses this analogy of the ad serving system as a brain and the events as heartbeats. I thought that was actually a pretty good way to frame it.
It is. The idea is that ad serving makes decisions, which ad to show, to whom, at what frequency, but without events flowing back it's flying blind. The events are the feedback loop. If they stop or if they're inaccurate, the whole system degrades.
And that's why reliability and accuracy matter so much here. It's not just analytics, it's operational.
Exactly. Bad events mean bad frequency capping, which means annoyed viewers. They also mean bad billing, which means financial errors. It touches everything.
The article mentions a few new capabilities this pipeline enabled: QR code scans, ad clicks, GDPR opt-out signals. It sounds like once you have the centralized publisher, adding new event types becomes much easier.
That's the payoff of the separation of concerns design principle they highlight. Consumers don't have to understand where the events are coming from or how the upstream pipeline changed. They just subscribe to the unified stream. So yes, adding a new event type is a much more contained change.
The article also mentions what's coming next: live stream ads, deduplication, native ads, something called Conversion API. Is any of that elaborated on?
Not really. They just name-drop these as upcoming projects. The article doesn't go into architectural detail on any of them.
Fair enough. One thing I found interesting is the emphasis on data contracts. They credit a clear data contract as a reason teams could iterate fast. What's the engineering lesson there?
It's about shared understanding. If every team that consumes ad events is working from the same well-defined schema, they're not spending time debugging mismatched assumptions. And when you need to make a change upstream, you know exactly what you're promising downstream consumers won't break.
It's like an API contract but for data.
That's exactly what it is. And they describe the centralized publisher's contract as highly extensible, designed to accommodate new ad types and new servers without forcing downstream teams to rewrite their logic.
Last question. This was apparently a multi-quarter effort across multiple engineering teams. The article mentions a TPM team pretty prominently.
Yeah, they give a shout out to the technical program management team. With a project this sprawling, touching ad serving, event handling, billing, reporting, real-time processing, the coordination problem is almost as hard as the technical problem. You need someone keeping all those threads from getting tangled.
The unglamorous work that makes the glamorous architecture actually ship.
Always.
The real insight here is that the event pipeline isn't a side system, it's the nervous system, and getting it right is what makes everything else in ads actually function.